Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. We are very, very happy to have you all here to discuss this truly important topic for Europe: green recovery in Spain and Italy, accelerating home renovation after COVID-19. Now, why this topic is so important to all of us is twofold. Firstly, it is key in the fight against global warming to indeed renovate the building stock of Europe, much of which was built well before current building standards were in place, and which means that we have solid but none too efficient buildings. And it will not be possible for Europe to reach its targets without renovating this stock. The other reason that this particular discussion is very important is that today we are speaking about financing methods, outreach methods, inclusion methods, which look to enable the European Union, but indeed set an example for other places around the world, but enable the European Union to reach out to residents, reach out to citizens with solutions for their homes which are available to them and which are realistic for them. Because as many of you know, even if you just look at your own lives, but even more if we think of our friends and neighbors that we know that maybe were working in a bar and no longer have a job, a school teacher that's trying to juggle teaching her own or his own children at the same time as doing Zoom, etc. Just telling people to go take bank loans and increase their personal debt and increase their family's financial stress is not a message that is going to get to reach anyone. It's not realistic. It's not inclusive. It indeed shuts out the majority of European households today. And if we want to reach our targets, we simply must do better than business as usual. So I'm very excited to be involved in this webinar. I'm excited to present this material to you. And the point is really to explore avenues and look at best practice examples which are taking place in Europe today, which are bringing us solutions that are potentially real solutions that could really support the development of the market and support European citizens in improving their homes, working together to fight climate change, but in a way that really helps them in their lives rather than simply increasing their financial stress. So with that introduction, I am very happy to review this agenda with you. Our first speaker, Arianna Vitali, Senior Policy Advisor for BPIE, will be going over Europe and the green recovery. BPIE has been doing some work. Of course, this is one of their core topics. So, and they are coming out with new research. So very happy to hear from her and what they are finding. We will then hear from Mart Jacobs, Program Analyst at GNE Finance, a case study from Spain on the EuroPACE program, which is precisely designed to really meet citizens where they are in their financial situations and in their daily needs in order to enable them to renovate their homes in a positive way. We will then have another case study from Italy, Sergio Olivero, Business and Finance Innovation Manager at Energy Center of Politecnico di Torino. Very excited to have him here. Italy has put in some really excellent, far-sighted tax measures, which support people in their home renovations, and indeed could be used as a model for basically anywhere in Europe in a very, very positive way. And then at the end, we are looking forward to hearing from you, our audience, with any questions you have, or indeed comments that you wish to place with all of us. In order to provide questions, please feel free to use the chat box that's at the side of your screen here, and we will look forward to engaging with you at the end. So with that, I would like to hand over to Arianna Vitali of BPIE to please give her presentation, and thank you all again for joining us. Arianna.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you very much for inviting me and BPIE to speak. So my name is Arianna, and I work at the BPIE, which is a non-profit think tank that is specialized in energy performance of buildings, analyzing both policies at the EU level, at the national level, and with offices in Brussels and Berlin. I'm myself based in Brussels. So today I'm here to give some hints about what's happening in Europe and how buildings and building renovation could contribute to a green recovery. First of all, sorry, my slide do not move. So first of all, I would like briefly to recap why building renovations are so important for Europe. Studies from BPIE, we have reviewed several studies, found that actually with building renovation, we, on average, for every 1 million invested in buildings upgraded, on average in Europe are created 18 jobs. 18 jobs is an average number in Europe, but for example, this it's about actually 18 jobs for million euros invested in Spain and around 15 jobs in Italy. So clearly investing in building renovation means sustaining the economy and creating local anchored jobs that can contribute to economic recovery and local growth. Additional to that, BPIE studies find actually that investing in buildings renovation can greatly also benefit people that work and live in those buildings. For example, thanks to improved lighting, improved comfort, and improved indoor air quality, we found that productivity of workers, of employees, can increase by 12% thanks to increased focus and concentration. The same happens to school, where actually better buildings can contribute to accelerate educational performance of students through increased attention and boosting memory abilities. And the same goes for hospital, where actually better and renovated hospitals can reduce the average length of stays by around 11%. So those are just few benefits that are important to keep in mind, and that clearly exemplifies that investing in buildings mean investing in people. And of course, together with those, the reduction of energy consumption and the reduction of emissions greatly contribute on ensuring that building renovation have a social added value, including for the climate. With that in mind, the European Green Deal back in December really put buildings at the focus, at the cornerstone of its policy. The aim of the EU Green Deal was actually to transform the EU into a prosperous and fair society. For that reason, and to do so, renovating buildings is considered a key priority, as buildings renovation can at the same time tackle climate and environmental related challenges by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but also doing so in a way that protects health and well-being of citizens. And with that in mind, the European Green Deal really announced a renovation wave that is coming soon. And you will hear later on from me on that point, but with this renovation wave and the objective of building policy is to really address the twin challenge of ensuring energy efficiency, but also improve affordability for EU households with building renovation. So building important under this point of view, and actually the importance of building was not reduced following the COVID-19 pandemic, and the agenda of building renovation remains still very high, and this is why. So the European Commission has put forward a very important temporary and recovery instruments called the Next Generation EU, that has to be seen as an opportunity actually to ensure that the EU can both recover from the economic damage brought by the COVID crisis, but doing so in a way that is beneficial to citizens, and also that would serve the purpose of achieving carbon neutrality, as explained and as highlighted in the Green Deal. With that in mind, the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which is the key funds that is at the core of this new temporary recovery instrument called Next Generation EU, also foresee the possibility of using this additional fund to finance building renovation. And this is because building renovation are actually a long-lasting investment that has the opportunity to create a better and resilient infrastructure for the EU, which has actually positive impacts also for the short term in terms of, as mentioned before, local jobs, jobs creations, and economic recovery. So currently, member states have the possibility of accessing this new finance by preparing their recovery and resilience plans. Draft can be sent to the European Commission already by 15 October, and the final plans are expected by 30 April 2021. Those recovery and resilience plans are actually an opportunity to finance renovations to boost the economy and ensure ensure actually long-term financing. So we hope to see, and we are eager to see how member states will take the most of this opportunity and finance their private and public buildings that need upgrading. Last but not least, last week, the European Commission actually announced in a new communication that has a clear climate focus, the need of increasing the 2030 climate target from the current 40% to an expected 55% target in 2030. And this communication actually highlights how the building sector is crucial in that respect. And it really again points to the renovation wave that that is expected on 14th of October. Points to the renovation wave as a key initiative and a strategic document that will define the roadmap for building renovation and to unleash new action in the sector. Also, very interestingly, last week in the President of Commission letter of intent, it has been announced that the EPBD will be reopened in 2021, really to contribute both to this higher greenhouse gas emissions target, but also with having in mind the crucial role that the building sector has to play as well for economic recovery. So that's actually well in advance of what it was planned, because it was a revision plan in 2026, but this again underlines the importance of the building sector. So the renovation wave that is expected next month we are expecting it to see how what are the next steps that will be highlighted. From what we have read in the communication on the 2030 greenhouse gas target, the Commission is launching with this renovation wave a new set of actions to increase the depth and rate of renovations in Europe. As you know, renovations in Europe are very low. The average is around 1% of renovation each year, and that is clearly not enough and should be increased. Together with the rate, important also that this renovation happens at a high depth. Also, we understand that the renovation wave will focus on the worst performing buildings, so the worst performing part of the stock, those buildings that are in the lowest energy class of the energy performance certificates, that are the most energy consumers, and it in many cases are lived in by people in that are low income and that are at risk of energy poverty. So focusing on the worst performing buildings also really try to improve the citizens' living conditions, especially the low income ones. Also, the renovation wave will also look at how the supply of energy in buildings will be switched from fossil fuels towards renewable heating solution. And last but not least, we also expect to see some provisions on how to ensure that adequate financial instruments are put in place, especially to facilitate the de-risking of investments. So the renovation wave, we have high expectation for that, and we hope to see a good combination of policy measures and financing tool to address the renovation in Europe. So to conclude, I think in the next months we have a great opportunity actually to use the renovation wave and the recovery package to align them to ensure that the kickstart of the renovation market, and especially to ensure that the building in Europe will start to be put in line and ready to future challenges, social challenges, but as well related to climate change. Now that we have additional financing through this Next Generation EU, it's important that this is well used towards building renovation, as this is done to the benefits of the citizens, economy, and the climate. And I'll conclude here with my presentation. I'm happy to receive your inputs and questions after that. In the meantime, I'll pass the floor to the next speaker, Mart Jacobs from GNE Finance. Mart, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for that, Ariana. I am setting up my screen, so I hope you can see it. I think right now you can see it. So good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank you all for joining today's webinar. My name is Mart Jacobs, and I work as an analyst for GNE Finance. As mentioned earlier, I will be delving a bit deeper into EuroPACE and the effective home renovation program that we have set up and are currently running in Spain, and which can be scaled up to support other European cities and regions to recover from the crisis we're currently facing. So to start off, a little bit more information about GNE Finance. We are a private company based in Barcelona and Amsterdam, founded in 2016, and we are focused on increasing the sustainability and resilience within Europe's built environment. And we do that by supporting cities and regions in designing and setting up and running effective home renovation programs. As you can see on the right-hand side of this slide, we partake in a variety of Horizon 2020 European funded projects all throughout Europe. Now, as GNE Finance as a company and as a finance company progressed further within the field of home renovation financing, our experiences have taught us that for homeowners, financing is actually not the only relevant aspect. There is a lot more that comes into play when taking on a renovation project. As a result of that, the GNE Solutions business unit within GNE Finance was created, of which I am a part, and which actually takes a holistic approach towards designing the most effective public-private collaborations and business models to activate home renovation schemes in European cities and regions. Now, as touched on before, why is it currently so important to provide these solutions and to set up these home renovation programs for European citizens? Well, as 2020 has made abundantly clear for all of us, I'm sure, the buildings we spend our time in, and more specifically, the homes we spend so much time in right now, are very important to us. They have been a safe shelter for an outside world that is currently quite chaotic, and most of us have had to adapt to working and studying from home. And at this point, it has also become apparent that we are not just dealing with an acute crisis, but with something that may become the new normal for us in the foreseeable future. And as such, a lot of attention has been drawn to the conditions we face indoors and to the comfort we have in our homes. If we are spending our time in a cold home or a home that is too hot or does not have sufficient ventilation, this impedes our productivity and well-being, as was pointed out by Ariana before me as well. And this significantly decreases our quality of life. And also looking beyond that bubble that we have within our homes and that comfort on a larger scale, home and building renovation must be a key catalysator for the Spanish and European recovery in economic terms by creating jobs within the construction sector, a sector which is so important, so vital for achieving that greener future for Europe, and something that plays a central part in achieving the aims of the European Green Deal framework and the aims of the European recovery funds, which are very actual right now. We try to help cities and regions design the right solutions to activate these incentives and to create that value for citizens and the environment at the same time, which I would like to refer back to that prosperous and fair society, as Ariana put it so nicely in her presentation. Now I'm talking about this solution, but what does this solution effectively entail, and how do we bring this into practice in Spain right now? So as I mentioned earlier, our experience has taught us that there are several elements that need to be taken into account to get citizens to take the step to renovate their home. And for us, this has led to the creation of a very effective formula, which is based on three main aspects. And the first aspect there is pivotal, which is the technical assistance. So home renovation is a very complex and scary process for homeowners. It includes a lot of stakeholders. So providing homeowners with detailed and easily understandable information about the entire procedure, about the measures that are available and the improvements that can be made, about the contractors that are available. All of this is necessary, connecting all these dots to make sure that homeowners are well informed and are very confident in taking the step to start their home renovation journey. So this technical assistance is a very essential part of how our programs are run. And this is an interwoven with providing citizens with access to affordable and long-term financing, which is also a very important driving factor for citizens, and which also plays a very important role in EuroPACE. And lastly, supporting this, there is a smart funding facility that we developed, which ensures that we always have the most effective blend of public and private funds to ensure that all European citizens have equal access to financing and the security of an effective home renovation program. So these three things combined lead to what we call the trust to renovate. And the trust to renovate is what will ensure a higher uptake of renovation projects, which is so necessary for a fair and green recovery after the current COVID-19 crisis. So some more information about the EuroPACE program. This is a 3-year program in which we are collaborating with 8 different partners that are situated in 4 different European countries. We are currently already in the 3rd year and in the 3rd pillar you see on screen right now. So the first step we took was assessing EuroPACE market readiness in different countries in the European Union. And then from that, we distilled a pilot city, which is Olot in Catalonia, which I will be talking about in a bit more detail later. And then currently, we are in the process of mingling and connecting with cities and regions to further scale this solution throughout Europe and set up the EuroPACE program further. Now, really quickly with you, I want to go over this graph to give you an idea of the way that the EuroPACE mechanism is currently set up in Spain. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that we adjust our model to local needs when we work with cities and regions outside of Spain, taking into account the local needs, the local regulatory frameworks, etc. But one thing that remains constant everywhere we go, since our programs are all about the homeowner and improving the process he or she goes through, the homeowner is always in the center, like you can see on the graph here. Now, the basics of this setup, we set up the program firstly through a framework agreement involving a local public authority, the entity that runs a one-stop shop, and as well as the financing partners, the investors. And then from the local one-stop shop, valuable connections with local contractors in the local construction sector will be created so that the right contractors can be trained and verified to deliver works up to the standard that is necessary. So based on all of this, all these valuable connections, our one-stop shops are ideally placed to provide that technical assistance that I mentioned earlier that is so essential to the homeowner. And the homeowner will thus be brought into contact with high quality contractors who will develop the works as has been set out and developed within the program. And then also the financing partners come into play as there is an underwriting process, including a credit assessment. Now, this whole process you see on screen in practice, it flows really smoothly, and the end point is actually the homeowner repaying his loan via those low monthly installments directly to the financier. And because all parties and stakeholders are so actively involved, this leads to the assurance of a high quality of the works and a lot of financial security. But as I mentioned, the process you see here is very adaptable to local needs and regulations. But the main takeaway here is that this citizen-centric approach through the one-stop shop and the inclusion of all the relevant stakeholders is absolutely key. Now, based on this procedure, I have mentioned that we have started and have up and running a first pilot in Olot, Catalonia, which is a city a couple of hours drive from Barcelona, actually. And it's a city that is quite active in terms of sustainability initiatives, etc. And therefore, it was a good pilot opportunity for us. So here, right now, at this time, we are actively bringing into practice this Trust to Renovate formula that I explained earlier, and developing a tailored financing facility for the citizens of Olot to enable them to take out these long-term affordable loans to finance their home renovation. We are working with local contractors so that we ensure the highest social and economic impact right there in the Olot community. So this one-stop shop concept that I mentioned that is so important. This is, in the case of Olot, centered right inside of the city hall, where it is very easy to access for citizens. They have a physical place to go to where all the technical assistance and information becomes readily available and tangible to them. Now, Olot, Catalonia is not the only place in Spain where we are active. We are also active in the Basque country with the Open Gela program, where Genie Finance has developed an innovative financing model to support more vulnerable groups throughout their home renovation journey in this Basque country region. So again, with this program as well, the technical assistance is fundamental, and this holistic guidance for homeowners throughout the project, which is in this case not in a city town hall, but it is provided in one-stop shops in the form of local neighborhood offices, which again are very close to the citizen. Now, the impact we achieve with all of this, what we strive is to support regions and cities to set up these home renovation programs and bring citizens closer to this affordable home renovation solution. And I am actually referring to the study that Ariana also mentioned, in proving that this is also a very effective way to kickstart the economy, as for example in Spain, as mentioned, for every €1 million invested 18 in home renovation, 18 new jobs are created. And seeing as supporting a person in employment costs the Spanish government approximately €20,000 per year, creating a new job within the construction sector would cost 14,000 within that same time frame, meaning the creation of a job within this sector saved the government €6,000 per year. The study also showed that per euro of public money invested in energy renovation, a return of 62 cents received within the time frame of 1 year. So as such, there is an impact all across the economic scale, but also the social one. So as such, we can help cities and regions recover from the current crisis by creating this economic, environmental, and social impact for all the European citizens. Now, currently, we are already actively working with cities from Belgium, the Netherlands, Portugal, and Spain to make this positive change happen. But I would also like to invite other cities and regions to come on board and create that sustainable future for Europe and its citizens that we should all strive for in the wake of this crisis, which has been very challenging, but which also leaves us with the opportunity to create a real change. So with that, I am wrapping up and I will leave the floor to Sergio. I am available to answer any questions you may have later on. So thank you, and on to Sergio.
Sorry, I'm just, okay. Is it visible? Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity of talking in this webinar. I will give you some example, very practical example related to what's happening in Italy, where a major change in fiscal incentives for urban renovation is in course. Sorry. Well, urban renovation can be really a good catalyst for post-COVID recovery. All of us know that the obsolescence of existing building at European level is a challenge, but it is also a great opportunity. Green Deal and the recovery plan were already discussed in the previous talks, and we can easily talk of energy-driven urban renovation that can play a major role combining systematic building retrofitting and energy communities. Please be aware that two relevant directives are being adopted by European countries, notably the 2018, also known as RED II, RED2, and 944, that is the one on the citizen energy communities. This is very important because we can, while renovating cities, we can combine thermal and electric renovation. That is a major change, a revolution, and at the same time an opportunity for customers to spend less and get better services. We usually talk about the Fab 5 of urban renovation in Italy. Clearly, we can start at the bottom with the energy transition technology. That is smart retrofitting. That means a combination of passive and active measures, and also the capacity of buildings to operate as renewable energy communities. Regulation plays a relevant role. especially with reference to the directives on energy communities. In Italy, there are relevant additional incentives on that were entered into force in July and were officially issued last week. Energy savings after the retrofitting, we can get up to 90% reduction on thermal consumption. This is a key success factor in order to reduce CO2 emissions, but also to cut the bills of people. Fiscal incentives play probably the major role in the recovery law in May this year, that is called the 110% law. That means that conceptually, if you pay 100, you are given back 110 in tax incentives. That is really a revolution to boost the renovation of buildings. We also have the opportunity for economies of scale. If you consider that in northern Italy, each multi-family house is worth on average 1 million euros, you can easily understand that clustering several buildings, several MFH, you can easily get higher investment capacity. Two best practices. The first one is the Energeia project. Energeia project is a project by Acea Pinerolese Energia, that is an energy utility in northwestern Italy. Tecnozeni, that is an ESCO, the construction company, and the Energy Center of the Politecnico di Torino, who is acting as an independent certification and scientific validation entity. The plan is for a smart retrofitting of 80 multifamily houses by 2023, but thanks to the tax incentives, this plan now is more than 100 multifamily houses by next year, at the latest 2022, and practically speaking, we can combine a low risk investment and increase of asset value, up to 70% reduction in heating cost starting from the first year. That is you renovate the building this year, and starting from next year you pay a bill that is 30% you paid before. Retrofitted buildings become smart in the sense that they are intrinsically equipped with all those technologies that are necessary to make them behave like energy community. CO2 emissions can be certified. Please note that an average multifamily building in Piedmont is worth from 70 to 100 tons of CO2 per year. That is a good result in terms of emission reduction. As I've said, the MFH can also act as renewable energy communities, that is lower electric bills. And this is coherent with the Renovation Wave by the European Union, with a focus on mobilization of investments in building renovation. Energeia is clearly a replicable business format, and so that's why we believe Energeia can effectively contribute to spending, we can say, the resources by made available by the European Commission for the we have a combination of and public retrofitting and renewable energy communities, respectively also citizen energy communities. This was also presented to several initiatives by the European Innovation Partnership on Smart Citizen Communities, and you can easily find information on the link in the slide. In this case, we also have we have paid attention to tackling energy poverty and to social housing, because social housing is also eligible for 110 fiscal incentives in Italy. A possible roadmap in the period 2020-2022 is to involve in Italy, private funds, banks, and the European Investment Bank to support the use of resources by the recovery plan for urban renovation. This time, Italy is leading in this field, and so it's really easy to get resources if you renovate buildings according to the law on tax incentives. In Europe, I think a survey in partner countries on fiscal incentives for smart retrofitting should be implemented, and using Italy as a live national lab. Please note that things are running fast, and now we are presently working with a rising wave of demand for renovation of buildings. Also, clearly synergies with the European Investment Bank, the European Central Bank can be proposed, and the focus should be on the link between technology and finance, also helping European institutions to fill the gap between the innovation results of EuroPACE 2020 grant and bank-driven project development funds with guarantees. And the idea is the objective is to raise interest in investing in innovative smart city solutions by private capitals. I think that in spring 2021, a retrofit center matchmaking event in cooperation with the financial sector may prove useful to make things move quicker. I thank you for your attention, and clearly is yeah, you can find my coordinates in case you have questions. Thank you.
Great. So thank you very much to all of the excellent speakers who just gave us 3 very interesting points of view. To follow up on this, we have some questions from the audience. And the first one is to a G&E, and that is, who provides the funding in G&E programs? And the other one on top of that is, are these programs available outside of Spain? So if we kick off with that question and then go from there.
So the way we go about this, first, thank you for the question. The way we go about providing funds in our programs is actually we look locally to best secure the optimal blend of public and private funding. So first off, when we implement a program somewhere, we look at what is available in terms of, for example, subsidies or public money, and we then blend that with private investments. So that is actually a question that is very much related to the place where we set up our program. And then the second question relating to if the program is available outside of Spain. Currently, the pilot we have up and running, which is the one in Olot I mentioned, that is currently only up and running in Spain, but we are expanding and we are currently in talks and doing workshops with cities in other countries in Europe. So we are looking to expand and we are actively doing that and actively having conversations with these cities. But no effective program has been set up and running, as is the case with a lot currently. Things have also been slowed down by the pandemic a bit, but thank you to the wonders of technology, we can still keep these conversations going with other cities as well.
Okay, that makes sense. And then another question that's following on to the same thing is, do these does this program cover all renovation works or only energy retrofit works in the one-stop shop?
So the measures we implement throughout the program, there's a wide variety of measures. The general focus are energy efficiency measures, such as renewable energy, for example, solar panels, insulation, but there are also other measures included, because this is also a part of what I mentioned, that for a homeowner, there's a lot more than just one specific focus when they start their home renovation journey. So certain things like accessibility are also included in the measures that can be taken. So there is a whole package of measures to be able to offer a holistic solution.
And maybe this is a question for both Sergio and yourself, which is, what is the most popular form of retrofit? Like, what do homeowners ask for most? And then also, what is the training requirements around the one-stop shop? Can you discuss that a little bit more?
Oh, well, I dare say that this question was scientifically correct before fiscal incentives enter into operational stage. That is, today in Italy, I mean, starting from practically these weeks, people are going to adopt the solutions that are compliant with the rules for fiscal incentives. That is a combination of thermal insulation, coatings, ventilated walls, change of windows, and active measures that are photovoltaic panels, heat pumps, and batteries, and also building management systems that are eligible for funding. I mean, complete funding. That is, you spend 100, you get 110 in 5 years. And at the same time, they need to be compliant. So they know they have to improve the energy performance, the thermal performances of buildings of 2 classes according to a standard that is in force in Italy. So what they want, we can say that now they are forced to want the best, since technology is paid by the state.
Okay, very good. And Mart, how about yourselves? What's the most popular measure, and that homeowners are interested in learning more about? And how does the training actually work for contractors? How does a contractor get involved who's interested? And while you're doing that, could you please also answer, how does a city get involved who's interested?
Okay, thank you for these questions. So I distilled 3 questions from that. So firstly, speaking from the Spain example, the measures that are most popular there generally relate to accessibility, like I mentioned, and also structural safety in buildings.
When you say accessibility, what do you actually mean by that?
Well, the word is, I would think, quite,
You mean older people being able to not have to use stairs, like ramps? Or do you mean it easier to turn on your faucet, or is that what you mean?
Very good example, actually, because for, as mentioned by, I believe, Ariane in the beginning as well, a lot of buildings were made before there were regulations in place to ensure this accessibility for everyone and this inclusion. So elevators are a good example of, or ramps for wheelchair users is another example. Right. So these are the type of measures that are included in accessibility, which are very important, for example, in multi-family buildings and with the aging population as well.
Right.
Then
the training for contractors and
moving to the second question. So how do we include our contractors in the EuroPACE program? Well, the first thing is we reach out to these local contractors, and then we actually inform them about the contents of the program and what we offer with the help of this one-stop shop. So we have this contact point to reach out to contractors. And then things that come into play when we take them on board are, for example, that they have to sign customer protection guidelines to ensure quality, and they are taught the best ways to interact with customers, which is also very important, and how to cover certain risks. And each contractor firm is evaluated in terms of financial terms, in terms of quality of their works. And after a thorough assessment of all these elements, they are added to a database of trusted contractors that we collect. So, and once the project is completed as well, the technical staff of our one-stop shops assesses these completed works, and after agreement between the staff, the homeowner, and everyone being pleased about the works conducted, then the contractor gets paid in the end as well. So it's an inclusive process. And then moving on to your third question, how cities or regions go about setting up a home renovation program and replicate a lot experience, so to speak. The way we go about this is we've been very lucky in that a lot of cities have spontaneously reached out to us after these online or in-person events. And then we establish a local city working group with them, bringing on board experts in several relevant fields, such as the legal field is important, tax is important, urban planning is important, so that we have experts on board on all these important elements. And then we bring up a discussion about the design of the one-stop shop, the effective implementation of the one-stop shop, the development of the activities in the one-stop shop. And then after these workshops, after we have this general outline, we really get to work and get more into specifics and advance towards this practical solution to be implemented. And I can advise the cities or regions interested in this to go to geniesolutions.com, because we have some more explanation about this whole procedure there, and the ability to reach out to us for more information on this. So thank you for these questions.
Excellent, thank you very much. Now I have a question for BPIE. It was interesting to hear about the Renovation Wave document from the European Commission, but are they coming up with any, the question was, do they have any new tools to further this Renovation Wave? Because if they simply do the same thing again that they have done before, why do they think they would be more successful? So what's different this time that will really spur success?
Thank you for this question. Well, I don't have the crystal ball. That's the answer, in the sense that the communication is still not presented, and it will only presented on the 14th of October. I agree with the assessment of the person who asked the question, what will be different this time? And that's, I think, what we hope to see in this commission strategy that will be presented in October. One thing, though, I think we can safely say it is different is that there is more available financing that can be devoted to building renovation, more than what was available before, thanks to the Next Generation EU and the possibility of using recovery funds. The question will be to understand how the Renovation Wave will set up mechanisms and tools that could help channel this financing directly to building owners to facilitate renovation. And that's, I think, the question we would like to see the Renovation Wave answering when it is published. I think as BPIE, we have some ideas on how this could be done, and also previous speakers have clearly explained what could be workable solution. One of them is definitely one-stop shops that help homeowners going through the renovation journey, And for example, the Renovation Wave could put the focus much more on this tool. Another way could be actually even to improve much further the energy performance certificate and to complement it with a building renovation passport, for example, that should details the one step-by-step renovations that homeowners need to do in its building, and having really a complete overview of the works that can be done. Other ways could be as well to ensure that technical assistance is better given to local authorities. So just to say that we hope to see a document that is comprehensive. Of course, there is not one single bullet measure, but for building renovations, you really need a combination of tools that are policy and financing. And we are looking forward to see this communication on 14th of October. And maybe we can have another webinar after that to discuss whether this will be meeting the expectation. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you very much. And then a final question, and this one is for Sergio concerning the eco-bonus. Are the eco-bonus or super bonus always linked to a bank loan, or is it possible to transfer the credit to a third party?
Well, the credit can be transferred many times, and what is needed practically is, how can I say, a bridge financing, because, well, if you make the renovation, let's say today, by this year, you will be eligible for getting the tax refund starting from March the 1st next year. That is, practically speaking, the multifamily house typically need funds to pay for the works. This can be done by a bank, but can also be done by a private company that has liquidity. And so the models are changing very fast, and the banks are now in a stage where they have to compete with other stakeholders in the funding process.
Right, that makes sense. So the short answer is yes, and bridge financing is a way to gain access to that powerful tool. So with that, I would like to thank all of our excellent speakers for their contributions today, and in particular our audience for your attendance. The webinar is recorded and the slides will be available, so you can expect to receive links to this shortly. Meanwhile, thank you very, very much for being here today with us, and to all of our speakers for your presentations, and we look forward to being in touch in the future. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.